Welcome back, fight fans. As always, this is BLÜ-FC, episode 11 now. As always, first we're going to go through last week's, which was UFC Vegas 39, Dern and Rodriguez, and then we're going to go through this event, number 40 at UFC Vegas, and that is Dumont and Ladd. So we'll start with the prelims from UFC Vegas 39. I mean, just in general, it was really an insane night. I mean, I don't think most of us were really expecting that, let's say, from the names on the card. But I mean, you know what? It didn't have the names, but it had the action and blood all over the place. Literally, like, it just looked like Halloween. It was insane. Anyway, and that started right off with the first fight, Ontiveros and Garcia. I didn't mention this last week because I hadn't really heard of either one of them, so I didn't know. Who knew this was going to be like this? Ontiveros rocked Garcia 2 or 3 times in the first minute of the fight. Exciting start to the night, of course. I thought it was actually going to be done right there. It was a new division for him, and he just had way more power here. That was actually another reason why I didn't really talk about it last time. When there's somebody in a new division, it's always like, are they going to rise up to it, or are they going to have a problem? But this guy really brought the power here. Excuse me. God damn it. Not only that, but we saw some blood here. Like I said, haven't seen blood really in months. We've seen some trickles here and there, maybe some splatter on the canvas there, but this was insane. And this was the start of it all over the place. He decorated it for Halloween. He was amazing on the feet, Ontiveros, but didn't have that much on the ground. If he works on that, I think he'll be pretty good. He's good on the feet. You just got to be a little more well-rounded, especially, what was that? What division was that? I actually didn't write that down. I think that might have been bantamweights, maybe featherweight. Either way, you got to be more well-rounded in there. That's about it. He did pretty good, though. Got the win. Looked pretty good on the feet. Just got to work on the ground. And then after that, another great one, the ladies. Not only that, someone who trains in Vancouver. How amazing is that? Oh, Lupi Godinez. Lupi killed it. Sure, her opponent was new to the UFC, but she looked good, really good. Dominated every second of the fight on the feet and on the ground. Got a first round armbar, which is pretty impressive in itself. She's great. And it's also just really cool to see somebody who fights in my hometown and succeeding. She's got big stuff coming. Not only that, I wrote that in the script there, but not only that, we'll be talking about her again in the next card, because guess what? She's fighting again 2 weeks in a row. How crazy is that? But we'll talk about that more later. But yeah, big things for her. She's looking good. After that, we had the prelims that I actually did talk about. First of all, that was Charles Rosa and Damon Jackson. I wasn't sure about this one, but I did mention that Rosa had a crazy, crazy pattern going on in terms of his wins and losses. He's on a streak. Well, he was on 11 in a row, win, loss, 11 in a row like that. And if the trend were to continue, I said he was going to lose. And it happened. That's 12 in a row now of that bizarre streak. Jackson came in hard the first round. He won the stand-up with a head kick, ended the first round on top. He showed how good he is on the ground when he won all those scrambles. Then in the second, he showed off that grappling, didn't give Rosa anything. Honestly, Rosa barely made it out of the second round. Then the blood of the night really started. If you thought the canvas was bloody before, it was soaked after this. Felder even said it looked like somebody had dropped 8 bottles of wine on the ground. It was actually crazy. I haven't seen that much blood in a long time. Actually, I might not have even ever seen that much blood in the octagon at all. It was insane. He actually looked like a faucet. Rosa landed a huge, unreal spinning elbow out of nowhere, sliced Jackson open, blood everywhere. And you'd think that would have been a problem, maybe getting a little lightheaded, you'd think, maybe slowing down, but not for Jackson. Jackson, he might have slowed down a little bit, let's say, but he still, even after that, dominated the grappling and ended the fight on top. So easy decision win for Jackson. I hope you bet on that weird trend we had that Rosa continued here, which is now 12 in a row of that bizarre trend. Yeah, I hope you got that one. That one was a cool one. And after that, oh my God, Romanov is back again. And he was against Vandera in this one. Even going into it, I was super excited. I've seen all of Romanov's fights. I knew how good he was. And he really just proved how good he actually is again. Landed takedowns whenever he wanted to. And it's unbelievable how strong he is. Like, King Kong is really a perfect nickname for him. It really is insane because, like, he's full on suplexing and throwing people. And we're not talking about lightweights and bantamweights here. You don't even see suplexes like this down there. And he's doing it to people that weigh literally over 250 pounds, full on flipping them in the air, throwing them around. It's absolutely insane. And again, yet another huge win for that guy. I would like to see him fight somebody ranked because, I mean, he's just smoking everybody else. You got to give him somebody, not too high. I'm saying probably near the bottom of the top 15. Spivak, Pavlovic, is that what I said? Ivanov, or maybe Walt Harris, somebody like that. Somebody down there. I think he can definitely compete in the top 15. I mean, he showed that. He's so good. And then after that, we had the main card, as if that night honestly wasn't even good enough until then. I mean, the prelims were insane, and it just kept getting, it was just stayed good the whole night. It was crazy. After that, we were supposed to have Phil Hawes and Darren win. I was excited to see this one. I like Phil Hawes, but he had to pull out. I can't remember why. I don't remember if it was COVID related or not. I don't have that up for me. I didn't write that down. Instead, we had Gutierrez and Colares. This was actually a prelim before. I didn't talk about it because I honestly wasn't really sure who either one of these people were. So I was kind of like, I don't think I'll talk about it. But because it was a main card, of course we have to talk about it now. And I did make my pick online, and it was Gutierrez because of the odds and because he looked slightly better. And I had heard some things on Twitter about him being pretty good. So I went with Gutierrez. That was my pick. And it was real back and forth for the first couple rounds. I thought Gutierrez was ahead for sure, but he definitely could have been more aggressive. That was his problem. And in the third round, Colares took over, got a takedown, but Gutierrez got up and he rocked him a couple times. And that's tough when it comes to the judges. That really the whole thing, because as a viewer, I was pretty sure Gutierrez was winning. But again, as we've seen and we've talked about, we did a whole special episode on that. You never know with the judges. You have no idea until you get the results in. But thankfully, the judges saw what we saw here. Gutierrez definitely dominated that fight. Easy decision for him. I wasn't sure about the third round, though, because that really could have gone either way. If you got a takedown, you know. But yeah, easy win for Gutierrez there. And honestly, he could be really good, but he's got to be more aggressive, because every time that he was aggressive, he lit him up. Absolutely lit him up. So, like, he just needs to do that more, really. I don't know. I just don't think that Colares was giving much to him, and he just wasn't taking advantage of it. I think he really could have just jumped in there and taken advantage of the whole thing. But, you know, if he can do that, he'll be pretty good. He'll be pretty good. After that, we had Sabina Matzo and Maria Agapova. Sorry. I thought it was Agapova, but yeah, it's Agapova. As I heard at length on Saturday, they talked about it quite a bit because they kept saying it wrong. Anyway, for me, that was a toss-up. I couldn't tell either way because, again, as I mentioned, new weight class, that could always go either way. But I was leaning Matzo on that. Yeah. But, you know, I was going for a decision there. And honestly, it wasn't really as close as I thought it was going to be. Not even close at all, actually. And it definitely could have been because of that new weight class for Matzo. And that's what I was saying before about how it really could go either way. You just have no idea. Unless you like really know how the person is going to be in a new weight class, you know, you just don't know. Agapova was in control for the most part, clearly stronger on the feet. It was interesting, actually, because Matzo was backing her up, I should say, the whole time, but Matzo was losing. So, like, it was kind of like, you don't normally see that, where the person backing up is actually the one who's in control. That's really weird. But yeah, that's exactly what was happening. And then in the third, she just rocked Matzo and got probably the quickest sub I've ever seen from stand up to a tap. That was actually insane. She knocked her down, and really before she even hit the ground, she was already on top of her, and then she tapped pretty much right away. It was insane. Easy win for Agapova. Good things for her. I don't have any potential matchups here that I'm thinking of yet. She's just not quite there yet, but she's definitely on her way. She did look very good. Then after that, we had the legend, Tim Elliott, and Nicolau. I was going back and forth on this one because you've got somebody super experienced, Miller. Miller. We're going to be talking about Miller later. That's why I got confused. Tim Elliott. Wow, I'm really messing up these names now. Yeah. So I had it on Elliott because of the experience, and he's only lost to really top people recently, so that's why I had him. Nicolau, he was only one fight into the UFC, at least this time around. So I was confused as to why he was even ranked at number 11. But after this, I totally get it. He was really good. But I think it was honestly tied after 2 rounds here. I think it was 1-1. Elliott looked exactly like he always does. He had a really good chance. And for the first time, I'm going to get to use this overlay, which we just made. He had such a good chance, but in the third, that is when you blew it. You blew it, Elliott. I'm so sorry. He got taken down, which is totally fine. He still might have won. He still might have won that if he would have gotten back up. But instead of going back up, you know what he did? He held on to him and tried to stall out the round. Not really what you want to do when you're questionable in the third round and there's still 2 minutes left. 2 whole minutes he spent. Literally, I'm not kidding. He was like this, like grabbing onto him as hard as he could. So probably so that the ref would stand them back up. But that's not what you want to do. That is not what you want to do when you're not really 100% sure if you're winning or not. And he should not have been 100% sure that he's winning, because he was not. It was definitely 1-1 there. So huge mistake there. Lost the round because of that, basically. Because like I said, if he would have gotten up, or if he would have gone for a sub or something, do something, he might have won that round, and he probably would have won the decision. But regardless of that, of basically Elliott throwing the fight away, Nicolau did look very good. He did look really good. And I'm thinking he should get a chance at somebody up top. I'm thinking Brandon Royval. He's just above him there. I think that would be pretty good. I think that's a solid matchup for him. I would like to see that a lot, especially since Royval is I think he's lost 2 in a row now, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a solid matchup. I'd like to see that. After that, we had the co-main. That was Randy Brown, Jared Gooden. And this was another one that was very close for me, because I don't know, just the records and their records were basically the same. So I was kind of like, oh man, this is a really tough one. And you know what? All 3 rounds were very similar here. Brown just barely edged him out on the feet each round. It was actually really close the whole time. I wouldn't say this was a blowout by any means at all, which is crazy, insane, because Brown dislocated a couple of his toes actually multiple times throughout the fights. And you could actually see him stomping on his own foot to get his toes back in. So the fact that he somehow kept up that pace the entire time and clearly won each round. Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, I was looking at my notes there. The fact that he clearly won each round, even though it wasn't dominant, let's say, he still won each round. And he did that at the start of the fight too, by the way, dislocated his toes. So that's really impressive to come back from. And yeah, it was an easy 30-27 for him here. It was close the whole time though. So, Gooden shouldn't feel that bad, but still. Anyway, he looked good. Randy Brown looked good. And then we had the main event, Mackenzie Dern and Rodriguez, I should say, not Rodriguez. This was, again, kind of a toss-up for me because, again, you had another change of weight class. And that, in this case, of course, was Rodriguez. So, I was going back and forth on, and they both have basically the same record. So it was kind of like, it's really a toss-up. And you know what? It really was a toss-up. It may not have looked like it at times, but the thing was, this was an interesting one. You don't really see this too much in the UFC anymore because people are so well-rounded. But really what happened here was you had a clearly much better striker, Rodriguez, who won 4 out of the 5 rounds, and a clearly much better on the ground fighter, Dern. That's kind of what we had here. And neither one of them had an answer for the other person when they got there. Dern had nothing on the feet, and Rodriguez had nothing on the ground. So, you don't usually see that anymore because, again, people are so well-rounded that doesn't really normally happen anymore. But that really just speaks to how good both of them are at what they do. That is definitely not to say that Rodriguez is not good on the ground, and it definitely is not to say that Dern is not good on the feet. It's just they're so good. They're so good where they are that you're just going to have that. And as they say, because every round starts on the feet, in that case, it makes sense that Rodriguez got away with the win. She just stayed on the feet the whole time. If she would have been on the ground more, she would have been screwed. She would have lost that round, whatever round it would have been. But she only got taken down the once, really. And that was, I believe it was the second round or the third round. And I mean, Dern clearly won that one. So yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes. I mean, they're both so good. They really are. They're both so good. But yeah, for Rodriguez now, she's clearly one of the people that's in line for the title. They talked to her about it after. She wants Esparza to get a chance first because she deserves it. I think that's respectable. That's fair. But because of the rematch, why there's even a rematch, I have no idea. Between Whaley and Rose, I have no fucking clue why there's a rematch here. When you get knocked out in the first round, you don't get a rematch. That's just my opinion. Whatever. Yeah. So because of that rematch, though, that means that if Esparza is next, which is a big if, she has to wait at least, probably 4 or 5 months. And then what? Rodriguez waits another 5-6 months after that, which is what she was saying, which means she'd be fighting maybe a year from now. That's no good. So she's probably going to have to fight somebody first. And the one that everybody wants to see, I've seen this on Twitter a couple times, and I was thinking it too. You got to fight Joanna. I mean, that's crazy. A striker's delight. I would love to see that. If Wei Li and Joanna was that good, I think this would be not necessarily as good, but it would be pretty close. You would see quite a bit of damage on both of them. I think this would be an insane fight to watch. I want to see that. Make it happen. So we will be back with the main card for UFC Vegas 40. Ladd and Dumont, I believe. I don't have it in front of me. After the break, we'll have a short break of about 30 seconds. I will see you soon.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
So we're back, and we're going to start with the main card of UFC Vegas 40. And that kicks off with Julian Marquez and Jordan Wright. I've got a feeling this is going to be a pretty good one. You've got 2 powerhouses here. Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which, by the way, is one of my favorite nicknames. That's so cool. He's done fairly well his last 2 with subs against Sam Alvey and Maki Pitolo. Jordan Wright has an almost perfect record, just the one loss to Joaquin Buckley. So because they're both so good and have a fairly decent record, especially recently, I'm not sure about this one. This is a real toss-up for me, but I definitely think it's going to be one to watch. I'm going for the one who's more experienced, who's fought the stronger competition. I'm going with the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez. And because we're at middleweights and Marquez is a finisher, I can't see this lasting the whole 3 rounds, especially since Wright is also a finisher. So somebody's getting finished in this fight. That's my prediction for sure. That is my prediction. And if we look at the odds, of course, heading over to Bet99, and I will throw the link up there. Of course, you can still get your sign-up bonus of an instant match bonus of $600 if you sign up with that link. Head over to Bet99, and the odds are minus 260 for Marquez, plus 200 for Wright. Okay, that's very interesting. That's a little more one-sided than I would actually say that it is. I think it's a little closer than that. That's very interesting. So if you were going to throw money at an underdog here, maybe you might want to do that. But like I said, I am sticking with Marquez. Interestingly, though, you've got the over-under on this, 1.5 rounds. At over, they have plus 114. And under, they have minus 148. So they're really thinking this is going to end in the first round or in the first part of the second round. I don't know. Like, yes, they're both finishers, but that's pretty quick. I don't think that's reasonable. So I would definitely throw some money at the plus 114, that being over 1.5 rounds. I just can't see it ending that quick. It might, but I really, those are pretty good odds for that. I would throw some money there. That is my recommendation there. After that, we've got Manon Fiorot and is it Mayra or Myra? Probably Myra. Bueno Silva. Fiorot hasn't lost in the UFC yet, but also hasn't really fought anybody high up yet. But she's also finished everybody that she's fought. Silva has fought a couple of slightly better fighters, but she hasn't gotten finishes recently. They've all been pretty close. So again, this is another toss-up for me, and I'm going to be saying that a couple more times tonight. It's a real toss-up for me. What was I going to say here? I had my notes. I lost it. I'm going with the one who has probably more power because she finishes more. I'm going with Fiorot. I was thinking maybe a finish, but because I think it'll be close, and because Silva always has close fights, I'm going for a decision here for Fiorot. And if you look at the odds, let's see here. Oh, I lost it for a second. Minus 240 for Fiorot and Bueno Silva at plus 190. Again, I'm not sure that it's that completely one-sided. That's very interesting to me as well. But yeah, I'm still going Fiorot on this. Again, maybe a chance to bet an underdog, but I'm sticking with Fiorot on this. And for the over-under here, they've got minus 140 for the over. So they're definitely thinking it's a decision here too. I definitely would stay away from that. But yeah, I think that's probably the way it's going to go too. After that, they've got the legend, Jim Miller, which is who I mistook Tim Elliott for already once this stream. He is back, and he's against a new fighter to the UFC. We just talked about something like this. So, and I'm going to say it again right here. You've definitely got the more experienced fighter on the one side, Miller. He's been in the UFC for over a decade now, but that also means that he's fairly old, which doesn't always mean something, but it also has led to him losing quite a bit recently. So most people will see this matchup and think that it's a pretty easy win for Miller. I honestly don't think so. I don't think it is. I mean, really, I think he realizes this too. If he loses, his career is probably over. Like, that's probably it. And even if he wins, he doesn't have much longer here. As a bettor, that's not something you want to see. That you don't really want to put some money on that. But also, Gonzalez hasn't fought in the UFC, and he's still lost a decent amount. So that's also not something you want to see. I'm thinking, honestly, they're throwing Miller an easier one here. I think that he can definitely do this, but I will say Gonzalez usually loses in a decision. He's been subbed, but he's never been KO'd. So to me, I think this is a pretty easy chance to get a decision here. I think this is definitely a decision. And I'm leaning towards Miller, like I said. I think Miller takes that because he's more experienced. I think he wins the decision. And the odds on that, bet 99, of course. Jim Miller is at minus 225. Gonzalez plus 180. So again, I think this is slightly more one-sided than it should be. They're really throwing it towards the ones that I'm picking, really. But I mean, I think they're being really generous with that. I don't know. And in terms of the over-under, they've got 2.5 rounds, minus 155 for it being over that, so a decision basically. Under at plus 120. I mean, I totally agree. I really do think it's going to be a decision too. I'm not sure I would throw some money at minus 155 though for that. I don't think that's a good pick. But again, I'm like 99% sure it's going to be a decision. And I have Miller winning that. But again, I think it's closer than that. These odds tonight are one-sided. They're very one-sided for no reason. I don't think they deserve it at all. So after that, they've got the co-main, Andrei Arlovski, another legend. I love Arlovski. Still a beast. Again, though, and this is the third time we're talking about it, same as Miller, clearly has more experience. He has some losses recently, but the last 3 losses he had, Aspinall, Rosenstrike, Sakai. So pretty good. And he beat Bozer and Chase Sherman, even though I will say, not really sure he beat Tanner Bozer. I'm on Bozer's side on that one, I got to say. But we'll leave that alone. The fact that he's been doing this well, though, that really does say something. And on the other side, we've got Felipe. He's only lost once, and that was to Spivak in his first UFC fight. Since then, he won his last 3. So again, I know I'm saying this a lot. I really think this could go either way again. I'm flipping back and forth on this one. I really will say. I had Arlovski, then I had Felipe, then I had Arlovski. And again, it's the same thing as the Miller situation and the Elliott situation. You could go either way on this. The more experienced fighter, Arlovski, he understands what he needs to do in a decision. And by the way, both of these guys, I skipped one line, both of these guys go to a decision a lot. They go to a lot of decisions. So there's a very, very good chance that this is going to be going to a decision. And that's where experience comes in. But that being said, Felipe is much younger and can maybe push more, which can win him a decision. So see, again, you've got that tight rope there that you don't really know, because you either go with experience or you go with the youth. But for me, I'm leaning towards Arlovski because when it comes to a decision, I think the experience helps him a lot. Also, Felipe is a slightly shorter but also heavier heavyweight. And I've seen him fight, and I remember that cardio was kind of a problem. And I think that Arlovski has the edge there. Also, if you can convince 3 judges that you beat Tanner Bozer, even though I don't think he did, if you can still somehow convince the judges of that at that age in a decision, considering Tanner Bozer is could be a light heavyweight, he's that quick. If you can somehow beat somebody like that in a decision, you can handle it. So that's why I'm leaning towards Arlovski on this one. And I'm going with the decision. And if you look at the odds, they're basically a coin flip. It's at minus 105. Felipe, or Arlovski, I should say, is at minus 105. Felipe, minus 118. So yeah, they have it basically at a coin flip. I'm going Arlovski by the decision. And you know what? They've also got it by decision, basically. Minus 213 at over 2.5 rounds. They're basically saying it's guaranteed to be a decision. But because it's heavyweights, keep in mind, we're talking about heavyweights here. Because it's heavyweights, you might want to throw a little bit at that under 2.5 rounds. That's pretty confident for some heavyweights. I don't know. So plus 162 for under 2.5 rounds. You might want to throw some there if you're feeling lucky. I'm definitely not opposed to doing that. But yeah, I'm going Arlovski by decision. And in the main event, if we were talking 2 weeks ago, we wouldn't even be talking about either one of these people. We've got Aspen Ladd and Norma Dumont. Dumont doesn't have much time in the UFC, but she's already fought the best. Her 1 loss is against Megan Anderson. She just beat Felicia Spencer last time. Aspen Ladd, we talked about her a lot and her weight cut problems before. She also has a great record, but normally fights down, of course, which is a huge problem for her making weight, as we saw. So, yet again, another toss up because we're talking about another weight class change here. Like, this is a nightmare. This week is a nightmare. It really is. We've got veterans fighting new people. We've got weight classes all over the place. We're trying to figure it out, though, and I know I'm doing a fairly decent job of it. I hope we get most of these right. By the way, still have yet to go under 50% of my picks. Just saying. Just saying. Now I jinxed it. Now I'm probably going to get all of them wrong. But anyway, this one is another toss-up for me. Ladd might be the best she's ever been because hopefully she's going to be as strong as ever because she didn't have to do a crazy weight cut. But Dumont has proven she can already compete at featherweight. And realistically, whoever wins this is going to fight Nunes next. So the problem is we don't know if Ladd's power will transfer up to that division. She has a lot of finishes at bantamweight, but will that translate into the featherweight division? Especially since Dumont has only been finished once, and that was against Anderson, who is a true featherweight, which means that she cuts down to make featherweight because she is huge. I just don't know if Ladd has that kind of power. And on the other hand, can she handle the power coming back at her from Dumont? She's used to getting hit by bantamweights. Can she handle being hit by a featherweight like that? There's just so many unknowns with this one. It really is. I'm going to a decision for this one, and I think it's going to be very close. I'm leaning towards Dumont on this one, and that's for two reasons. One, she's used to that division, which is huge. That's a huge thing. And two, she's fought 3 more times since Ladd has had her last fight. And you've got to lean towards activity, especially when there's not much else to go on, considering the weight class change. So yeah, I keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for sure, that she's fought 3 more times. Think about that. 3 more times. Ladd hasn't fought in 2 years, maybe even 3 years at this point. I can't remember what it was. But she's fought 3 more times since then. That's big. And if you look at the odds on Bet99, they've got Ladd at -134, Dumont at +108, which is very interesting considering what I just said about activity and weight class change. Yes, Ladd is very good, but when you've got all that going against you, I'm not sure. So I'm going with Dumont on this one. Good pick for the underdog. I would definitely sprinkle something on that. Plus, they've got over 4.5 rounds, not 2.5, not 3.5, but 4.5 rounds. They really think this is going to go to a decision. -128 for that, for over 4.5 rounds. I think that's kind of insane. I really I'm pretty confident doing that too, but to say you're confident enough to make the favorite here a decision in a 5-round fight, you might want to throw some money at that +100 for it being under the 4.5 rounds. You might want to throw some at there. Again, if you're feeling lucky today. Again, though, my pick is Dumont by decision. But hey, again, if you're feeling lucky, I'm not going to stop you. That's definitely one of the ones that I would pick if I was feeling like a lucky guy. So for the prelims, we've got a couple of interesting ones here, and they actually don't have one of these on the Bet99 yet because it's that new, because it just changed this morning, actually. And I'll talk about that one first. You've got Lupita Godinez, Loopy, which we just talked about, and Luana Carolina. Like I said, we just talked about her. I told you we were going to talk about her again. This one was supposed to be with Sajara Eubanks, who was replaced late by Loopy. I was already going to talk about this fight because I thought it was going to be good. Now I'm even more intrigued. We just talked about her. And we guessed Loopy last time. Of course, she got us the win there. But with 2 events back to back like this, I'm just not sure. Carolina has a bit more experience here. She's only lost once, and it was to Ariane Lipski, who is one of my favorite female fighters. So this one is yet another toss-up. And as I said, the odds can't help us here because I don't think they posted it yet. Hopefully they'll be posting it. I would assume they'll be posting it tomorrow. We'll see. I think it'll be very close, and I think it'll be a fun fight to watch. I'm going with a decision here, and although I'm really hesitant to say it, I mean it. I am so hesitant to say this. I'm going with Loopy. I have to. But I'll tell you why I'm hesitant. One, Canadian fighters that fight out of Canada normally have a terrible record. That's the first part of it. And that might sound like a joke, but it's a serious thing. Like that we have a serious problem with losing in the UFC as Canadians. So there's that. And also 2 weeks in a row, that's tough. Even though she did get the first round win, that's still tough. 2 weeks in a row. But she looked so good. She looked so dominant on the feet and on the ground. And since Carolina's never beat anybody that's a bigger name, not that Loopy has either, but because she looked that good, I think she's going to be a huge problem for Carolina. And although I don't think she's going to get a finish, I do think she's going to get the decision win. That is my pick here. And just before we talk about the next one, I'm going to quickly refresh the page. Maybe they have it. Maybe they have it now. No. No, they still don't have it up. Oh, well. Either that or it was canceled like an hour ago. I don't think so, though. I was just on Twitter and I didn't hear anything. But anyway, the next prelim I want to talk about, and it's the last fight I'm going to talk about today, is Danny Roberts and Ramazan Emaev. I'm not sure. I'm going to say Emaev because that's what it looks like. I sense either a huge brawl here or a wild KO. This is one that you definitely want to watch. Danny Roberts hasn't fought in 2 years and is about 50-50 in the UFC so far. Not good. Emaev has fought once already this year, and he's only lost once in the UFC. He does have a shorter reach, though, but he's from Dagestan. So I'm going with my gut on this one. Those Dagestani boys are something else. Also, he's just been more active than Danny Roberts. I'm going to go with Emaev on this one. He might get a sub here, but I'm leaning towards a decision on this one because his last 7 fights in a row have been a decision. So you might want to keep that in mind if you're going to throw some money at him. And if you look at the odds here, we've got, where's that? There we go. They've got Emaev at minus 325. Okay. And Roberts at plus 250. That's very interesting. I wouldn't have put it that one-sided, but I guess they're really going with what I see, and that's that he's from Dagestan, which is saying a lot, even though that's kind of silly. They're going really hard for the over, though. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 193. That's substantial. So again, if you're feeling lucky, you might want to throw it at the under there because that's pretty confident for a 3-rounder. I mean, I'm pretty confident it's going to go to a decision too, but am I minus 193 confident? I don't think so. You might want to sprinkle some money at the plus 150 under 2.5 rounds there. And you might even want to make Emaev a parlay, but I don't know. I just don't see it that one-sided. And that is almost the most one-sided. The most one-sided one is Ludovic Klein. He's at minus 375. So if you're feeling a parlay, I'm not sure if I would recommend a parlay on this card. But if you were going to do one, You could go Amiv and Klein maybe, just because those are the two biggest numbers. But honestly, I might just stay away from a parlay altogether because this card is all over the map. Seriously, all over the place. But I hope we've got most of our picks right. I'm sure we're still going to be above 50%. I'm confident. We're looking good. Especially if you go with those over-unders, the ones that I was talking about, because a couple of those were, the odds were probably more in your favor. Anyway, that is it for me. As always, my socials are linked below. You can see all of them wherever you are, whether that's on Twitter or YouTube or Twitch. Yeah, they're all be linked there. I was reading. I always struggle with reading and talking at the same time. Who doesn't? Who doesn't though, you know? And if you want to see any of the other sports, whether that's soccer, football, basketball, hockey, anything, the Area 51 network on my hat has it all. You can go to the website. We already had it up there before. Area 51 network. And check out the other channels in the network as well. I will see you next week. If you want to check out that signing bonus I was talking about, you can check out the next slide. I will see you next time. I can't wait. See ya.